Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel. What are we doing? A little handshake?
Yeah, little double handshake.
Sure, fuck it. And you know what? That's actually, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Because we're talking about the Wii today, and
Yes,
we're
we
talking
are.
about motion. And you,
Yeah.
and you started the video with a little bit of motion.
We just got to keep moving during the whole video.
We could, I mean, you could if you want to.
Wow.
You got to get your energy out. You're like a dog.
That's why you have me play some We Play Motion.
That's true. We played some We Play Motion. We've frankly been playing a lot of weird Wii games.
Absolutely.
Both the last couple days together.
Yeah.
But also just sort of in the last couple months.
Yes,
How about?
definitely.
We've both been on a Wii kick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken us to a lot of places. Some very prolific places that we're going to talk about, and some very strange ones too. And as we get into these games, we're going to do it kind of through the lens of a central idea. That we've been workshopping. There's something really interesting with the Wii remote.
Yes, there is.
And
I'm actually very sad I didn't go grab a Wii remote for a prop comedy, but you all know what it looks like.
Yeah, we do have some prop comedy later in the video.
Yes, we
though.
do.
If you know what that means, you win. What's interesting about the Wii remote is the notion that you play games with it.
Yes, but you don't just play games with it. You play games with it.
Yes, and you do so. This is poorly phrased, but the bottom line is this, folks at home. What I like about the Wii remote is that it is a modular controller.
Yes, definitely.
They're not the ton of controllers that are this modular. We came up with some examples that we might touch on.
Very, very few.
Yeah. The Wii remote exists to be the ultimate accessible, understandable controller.
Yeah.
And the way Nintendo did that is not only by literally mimicking the form of the TV remote, something that everybody understands, knows how to use, and translate that into a game controller, but they also said, hey, if we can get people to understand the Wii remote, let's not get crazy with it, right? When we want to do our peripheral games, instead of introducing our whole ass DK bongos or our whole ass NES Zapper or Super Scope, we're just gonna clip accessories onto the remote and change the use of the controller while still only asking you to understand this one controller and then various things you can connect into it. Yeah. And that's a very unique design philosophy, I think, and it's one that, as we came to realize, Nintendo felt like they needed software to explain.
Yeah, it's so distinct that when we were first trying to workshop, what is this idea that we are trying to nail down? We were trying to compare it to other things, like, as you brought up, the DK bongos, which you can see behind me, or the Gyromite NES controller where Rob grabs onto this thing and places pieces on it, or the NES Zapper or the Super Scope. And while those are similar to Wiimote peripherals in that they are Nintendo-produced peripherals, those are all controllers in and of themselves. You plug them directly into the console. They end up replacing the actual controller. And so we were like, how do we bring, because this is what inspired it, how do we bring linked crossbow training into conversation with other games, with other controllers? We were trying to play with the bongos. It wasn't working. We were like, what do these two things have in common? But the fact is that the Wii remote is so distinct because its peripherals, largely, other than some from third-party developers, are just hunks of plastic. Yeah. The Wii Zapper that we used to play linked crossbow training doesn't do anything in and of itself.
The game doesn't even know if you're using it.
No, absolutely not. It doesn't matter.
It's got nowhere to tell.
And it's very similar to the only peripherals that I had as a kid were the Wii Sports plastic things, like the 2 foot long, not even 2 foot long, like the 1 foot long golf club you stick into the end.
Size.
Yeah, doubt it. The little tennis racket bit you put on the end, the little baseball bat, and I never really used them because I was like, it just weighs slightly different. Yeah. It just gives you the idea that you're using this for this sport. But that's such a strange thing that almost no other system has ever really even tried, because most systems have a traditional game controller that would not work to be strapped or carbungled into something that allows its form to be changed.
You know what a funny example of this is? It was 2015. It was the summer 2015, and Splatoon had just come out. Yeah. And there's a mode in Splatoon 1, for people who don't know, called Battle Dojo, where you play against a friend. One person plays using the gamepad, and the other person plays on the TV. But you couldn't use a Wii Remote and nunchuck on the TV for pointer aim. Yeah. You could, though, take a Pro controller and affix a Wii remote to it and use that as a simulated weird gyro thing.
One of the most insane solutions ever come up with.
And it required the official image that Nintendo put out of how to do this was to take a shoelace and shoelace in an X pattern the Wii remote under the Wii U Pro controller.
Sure.
Which is bizarre.
You ever do that?
What I did actually is I made a little holder for it. Like out of cardboard. I basically just made a cardboard thing that I could put both controllers into. But it's interesting because that is the absolute inverse of what the software is trying to do.
Yeah.
And you said something what I thought was really interesting for once, finally. You were talking about how that big hunk of shit, horse shit bowling ball that some third-party company made.
We were looking at that,
was about selling the idea of bowling.
Yes.
And I think that that's an idea that's really core to the Wii remote and core to the Wii generation, which is this idea of, in the simplest way possible, selling people on an intuitive way to race a car in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
To shoot,
the Wii wheel. That's one we didn't bring up.
Yeah, to shoot a crossbow in Link's crossbow training.
To play soccer, not soccer, actually. Tennis, baseball.
How do I feel leg strap to play soccer?
Which is, one of the few examples of peripherals that use that kind of same idea for the Switch. And one idea that I was just having is that we talk about the Wiimote trying to be as accessible to people as it can by mimicking motions that you already intuitively understand as a person that has been out in the world. The idea of playing different sports through motion, turning a steering wheel, because other than us, when we were playing when we were kids, most people have driven a vehicle and they intuitively understand tilting back and forth. That's true.
I actually have driven a vehicle.
How many times? How many hands would it take to count?
In Maine, I think you had to do 15
Oh, because you do have a permit.
Well, in the eyes of the law, I think that's expired.
Yeah. But there is a permit somewhere around that you obtained at one point.
At one point in my life, yes.
But it's no longer useful.
It's void.
Those skills are gone.
It is void.
But the thing that I found interesting is the idea is to remove barrier by allowing these actions to be as accessible as possible.
Yeah.
But to video game players, I would say that the idea of these peripherals is actually more of a barrier than any other games, because the vast majority of video game players are so used to controlling anything with a controller, controlling it with buttons, using that in conjunction with, if it's a Switch or some modern consoles, gyro for aim or triggers and different buttons. But now the Wiimote, which is supposed to be the easiest thing, for each of these games is why don't you just buy a piece of plastic that doesn't do anything, but simulates this, and it's a way to lower barrier to entry, but I think also kind of raises the barrier to entry in a unique way.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because you think about some super hardcore games that require ridiculous peripherals. Steel Battalion on Xbox is a famous one.
Yes.
Where you've got literally the size of our desk here, a big controller with dials and switches and buttons and levers and all these things. There's a hardcore analog to this. Also, your fucking weirdly named Thrustmaster steering wheels and shit that you can play sim racers with.
Oh, sure, yeah. Like in Gran Turismo movie.
Like in Gran Turismo movie, based on a true story.
Yes.
So you've got people who buy into that, right? But then you also had a lot of people that didn't buy into what we're talking about over here.
True.
And I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think what I've come to really appreciate about the Wii recently is that it really, in my opinion, represents maybe the only time in console games history when a company said, we want to truly do gaming differently.
Yes, absolutely.
Because as we go through some of the software we've picked out here, so much of Nintendo's ethos during this era was not about that core fan who was upset at the idea of a zapper. The zapper was there to introduce people to the idea of shooting a gun in a video game. And out of it came some really interesting software, but there's no doubt, to your point, that it came with a lot of ire from the core fan base. When I was working on Console Chronicles, was reintroduced to this piece that I think VGC wrote, interviewing Iwata back during the Wii era, wherein he actually apologized for the fact that I think it was E3 2009 when Nintendo brought Shaun White snowboarding and brought Wii Music.
Yeah.
So it might have been 2008. I might be getting the year a little bit
notorious Wii Music thing, yeah.
And brought no hardcore software that Iwata even went as far as to apologize for later. Their priorities were so different that I think it makes the Wii so fun to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only because they were trying to speak to a different demographic, but because personally, growing up, the Wii is when the most people I knew played games.
Sure.
When my entire family would play Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, and Mario Kart Wii together.
It's the only time I know my mom has ever bought a video game for herself.
Yeah.
Which was Beatles Rock Band. And all the Rock Band peripherals, which, God, I wish I still had. Those things were in a garage for the longest time, and then she got rid of them. And now they're so expensive.
Which is crazy to me because you said, this is a complete tangent, but you said to me, man, Abram, I really want a Rock Band controller. I'm like, go fucking buy one. They're like 10, they're like 10 to everywhere. They're like $10. No. And then I learned they're like 100.
Yeah.
But that's another interesting trend, and I want to make. Hold on, follow me. Both you and you need to follow me for a second. The Rock Band era introduced a lot of peripherals.
Yes.
That
maybe the most complex, but also most ubiquitous controllers. The meeting of the two.
Ubiquitous.
Peripherals.
Yeah, we're ubiquitous to the point of eventual failure.
Yeah.
Not only with the last one that failed, and then the other one they tried, the Rock Band or Guitar Hero Live, which also failed. There were so many purpose-built pieces of plastic there that it totally created the market, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo peripherals during this generation didn't do that. Not only because I don't think there's so many of them. I might be wrong, but I'm sure there's a fucking shit ton of Wii wheels out there.
Definitely.
But they were also a lot. They didn't ask as much of you. They didn't ask you.
Sure.
They didn't take up so much space in your house. They weren't so expensive. You could buy the Zapper with crossbow training for like $20.
Yeah.
They fit not only into your lifestyle, but literally around your controller. So it was a low ask. It was a low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Amiibo kind of did the same thing. Yeah. Because we don't have an Amiibo down here.
No, we have one.
Oh, yeah.
Yarn Yoshi. And hold on.
Oh, and
Chibi Robo.
And Detective Pikachu.
Oh shit, 3 of them.
We got 3 Amiibo down here.
All of them are mine, because you don't want to put any of yours in the background.
Because I have a shelf, it's a whole situation. We've got 100 Amiibo upstairs. Amiibo managed to do a similar thing where in Skylanders or Disney Infinity, they made so many figures that had one use.
Yeah.
They were used in this particular iteration of their respective game series. Yeah. And then when that became obsolete, the figures were worthless. Yes. I remember going to Walmart.
Absolutely.
And you could get the hero from Big Hero 6 Disney Infinity figure.
Yeah, Baymax.
No, the guy
hero.
The
guy. Oh, yeah. H-I-R-O.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy hero.
I forgot his name was called that.
Yeah. There was literally an entire end rack of probably 60 hero.
Yeah.
Because they didn't sell.
No, absolutely. And, to be frank, that was a problem that Amiibo had.
It was a problem they had with the Animal Crossing line, for sure. But the majority...
And some of the early Smash ones, the Mario Party ones, they made a fuckload of, and people didn't care to buy Boo or Goomba or fucking Diddy Kong,
which are unfortunately
frankly.
hard to find now.
Yeah.
But the point is on the whole.
Yeah.
What Amiibo did well is Amiibo said, we're not only going to work in one game, we're going to work in many games.
Absolutely.
And we're also...
A tiny bit. Work a little bit.
Yeah, but enough to justify the purchase.
Well.
And most importantly, they were very collectible.
Yes, absolutely.
Amiibo did not tie themselves down to one particular thing the way these other NFC figures did. Yeah. And I think part of the reason that I find Wii peripherals and the Wii Remote so successful is they did something similar.
Sure.
The Wii Zapper didn't lock itself to crossbow training.
Yeah,
the Wii Wheel didn't lock itself to Mario Kart. The Wii Motion Plus is used in a bunch of games. The balance board is used in less games, but you can still play Step and Roll, and you can play Wii Punch Out with it and all this shit. It's not just for Wii Fit. They were all multi-purpose, and that's another very rare thing. I mean, even the bongos, which I love the DK bongos. You can use them in 4 games.
All Donkey Kong games.
Yeah, 3 Donkey Kong games and Jungle Beat.
Yeah.
In a Just Society, also Barrel Blast, but that came to Wii instead. So,
now stop.
What do you make of this idea? Also, this almost like universal quality.
Well, what's interesting about them being produced that way is I would say, at least from my experience with either learning about these or wanting these or seeing these at other people's houses, I don't know if they were really, even though if they were produced in that way because of the fact they didn't replace the controller, they could be used in many things, and also because they mostly weren't required, they were able to be used in multiple games.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Zapper pointer games on Wii, but I do think that when people used them, it wasn't in that ubiquitous way.
Yeah,
The Wii Wheel was for Mario Kart.
Yeah.
There were probably a dozen plus motion-controlled racing games you could have used that in. But
such as
what? Oh, he's got something. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for Excitebots.
Oh, really far down. Keep going. It's out back corner. Keep going down.
Excite. There's 2 Excites.
Yes.
You got to see my hindquarters for a moment there, audience. Be grateful. Such as these.
Yeah. Though those had like other things, I'm not sure how great that would be.
This actually says to use the wheel on the back.
Does this
that one? That
was before it came out.
That was before that came out because it was a launch game.
My point being,
yeah,
I don't think many people ever used the Wii Wheel to play Excitebots, even though on the box it suggests that that is something that you can do with it, or any myriad, I'm sure, of other third-party racing games.
Yeah.
And the one that really got me thinking about this was the Wii Zapper and Link's Crossbow Training. Yeah, there's a lot of light gun games. There's a couple Resident Evil ones even,
which we should play.
We should. Do you have that, right?
I don't, but
we can get
eBay.
We can get our hands on these.
Yeah.
We could use that because we have the knowledge of like, oh, this is usable for a lot of things. Yeah. But I feel like the truth is people just bought Link's Crossbow Training with a Zapper because they saw Zelda and they saw Peripheral, like, oh, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then never used it for anything else again. So it's interesting between the creation and the execution or the way that it was accepted by the community. I think there's a little bit of disconnect there. Yeah. And I think the reason actually was because obviously Nintendo made the best software for these. They made the software that was literally designed alongside it. It was sold alongside it. And because it was sold alongside it, people made that mental association and didn't really expand it outwards because Link's Crossbow Training was designed to show what that could do. The Wii Wheel was designed in conjunction with Mario Kart Wii. But I don't think, I certainly don't know anyone who played a third-party racing game and used the Wii Wheel for that.
Yeah, I mean,
think about it. When you played Resident Evil, Dark Side Chronicles, I believe, it was a light gun game. You didn't use a zapper. It was with your aunt, right?
Yeah.
She didn't have a zapper, even though that might have been better with the zapper.
It probably would have been, but I think what's interesting about it, another thing I really appreciate about the Wii, if we use this as an example again, the option was there, as you're saying. And if a lot of people didn't take advantage of it, I think that's fine, because again, a lot of these peripherals are very passive.
Yeah.
But they're also, I think Nintendo did everything they could to encourage people to do that. Because something that's really interesting about the Wii is that I feel like this console, better than almost any other, has a very cohesive visual and verbal language. Across all of its hardware.
Yeah.
What I mean is, again, we're using the bongos just because they're in the background. It's easy to talk about.
Yeah.
If you put the bongos next to a GameCube controller,
there's no cohesion. The only cohesion is the thing on the end.
Yeah.
This is the GameCube port hole.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
If you don't notice that port, you've got no reason to suspect that they belong together. Nintendo went to great pains, whether it's on the back of the box, in big pictures like this with the big picture or the little icon, to always establish the sense of visual continuity, to suggest to people that, yes, you can use your Wiimote in a modular way. You can put your controller into these things that are all going to be this nice, clean, white plastic that looks identical to your controller.
And identical to the system as well, and the boxes.
Yes, it was very smart how they did that. What they realized so acutely and what they bungled so badly with Wii U was this ability to understand that the casual gamer does not get games.
No.
And the best way to make them get games is to create an environment wherein everything looks like it belongs together. What the fuck are you looking for?
I was just checking if any of the third-party games we had had things like that on the back. And I didn't find any.
Let me check Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles.
That'd be an interesting one. I'm gonna be honest, I was looking for the games I was not listening to.
I was talking about the idea of helping your again, working from this premise of the Wii Remote was to get casual people's minds around games. The way Nintendo did that was to create this design language and this visual language and a verbal language where everything is cohesive to a way that I don't really think any other system is.
No, that's true. And we were even talking about the fact that so many games had Wii in the title. For Wii, or starting with Wii, like the Wii sub-series, and how that's been kind of recreated in other eras. We're talking about how there's a lot of Super NES games that had Super in the title. There was a couple Wii U games that had U in the title. Sometimes, in rare circumstances, you'll get a for Nintendo Switch, or in the case of Smash, for 3DS or for Wii U.
Yeah.
But the Wii was kind of the only time where the Wii itself was the brand to be sold, as opposed to the games on the system.
Yeah.
You got a Wii, and you suddenly had access to all sorts of different types of games that were Wii only, continue to be Wii only. Like these games are never ported anywhere, I guess, other than the Wii U, which was kind of an extension of that. And I think that what made it so interesting is they made so much Wii software, so much Wii casual software that frankly very little of has any standing value today. Yeah. No one cares about Wii Fit. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort are kind of the only ones that were ubiquitous enough and well respected enough to sort of break out of that. But here we have what is it, 5 games? Whoa.
They get it. We also have Wii Sports Resort on the shelf there. Well, we had the case for Wii Sports Resort.
No disc in there.
I left a disc in my Wii U at home.
But this is Wii Music, Wii Play Motion, Wii Fit Plus. Of course, there's Wii Sports Resort, and Wii Party. Yeah. And that's a lot of fucking games. Yeah. But the interesting thing about all of these games having the same logo, same font, same aesthetic, all with the Miis, is that if you got a Wii and you weren't quite sure why it was such a thing, where am I going to fit into this, especially if you're a casual player, there was something that was explicitly Wii, like unambiguously, no way to fucking confuse it, Wii branded, that could appeal to you. Yeah. Was it playing? Was it music? Was it fitness? Was it sports? Yeah. Was it partying? Yeah. And I find that really interesting that they just were able to grab, they kind of scattershot. They're like, as long as you get one of these, we're happy.
I think that it was Miyamoto who wanted the partying. Sure. I see Miyamoto as a party animal. Yeah. A complete sidebar that I want to dive into what you're saying here. Dark Side Chronicles does have the zapper icon on the back of the controller, on the back of the box. Mm-hmm. I also know that Monkey Ball Step and Roll, well, I mean, it's literally built with a balance board in mind, so of course the balance board is on the back of the box, but
there's also a marble game similar to that do the same thing.
Probably.
Yeah. I just feel like I remember being at like a Super Bowl party when I was like 9. Okay. And that being a thing. I was playing this like upstairs while everyone else was doing football.
I'll tell you this. I promise you that there are marble games on Wii. I want to make a point here.
Sure. About which one?
About them.
I just want to be able to prop
about all of them.
Okay. Well.
Can you also? I thought that Wii Sports Resort, which is the best one of these games, is not in the pile here.
Boom. We'll add a little blue to that.
I think we probably have a copy of Wii Sports here too, right?
No, I don't think so. And then at least we don't have a case, so it doesn't really matter.
Right, it wasn't in it. There's a disc here because it was in something.
Oh, holy shit! You're right.
Yeah. Is it in that red box thing?
No, right? It was no. It was in the other one of this. Oh my god! It's in the trash. Wii Sports, ladies and gentlemen. It's in this case of City Folk that I trashed
because we got a better copy of City Folk in the background. Point being, I think that it's not well enough appreciated that this was a series of new IP for Nintendo.
It was. Yeah. No, here's just a philosophical question. Sure. Would you consider these each their own IP, or is Wii the IP?
I think that Wii is the IP.
Sure.
And the reason I think that is because they all have not only a similar gameplay philosophy, which is not necessarily important for a franchise, but they all have the same general ethos in their usage of Miis, and a lot of how their menus look and operate. Obviously, the title conventions are the same. And a lot of the software, as I think we should pivot into, was specifically designed to illustrate the Wii Remote and illustrate how the hardware is used. Yeah. Wii Play, you learned a fact about Wii Play. You learned a fact about the title Wii Play. Can you remind us of the fact about the title of Wii Play?
That's so vague. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about. The title Wii Play in Japan. Oh! Yeah, the Japanese title of Wii Play translates to something like learn how to use the Wii Remote.
Yeah, and keep going. The other half of the fact.
What? Oh, and thank you for guiding me through this. I forgot about these. Yeah, I'll be honest. The Japanese title for Link's crossbow training, I believe, was initially going to be learn how to use Wii Zapper. Yeah. Or at least the translated version of that. And then they were like, let's put Link and let's put crossbow training in the title. Yeah. And I learned this from an Iwata Asks interview between him and Miyamoto, which is up online. I love that Nintendo still has all these archived. It's really cool.
Really well archived too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like Wayback Machine, like
No.
compressed with like shitty images on the sides.
People don't realize how good Nintendo's website is.
Yeah. You've got stats going back to the DS era on there.
Not only have stats, not only have all these I Want to Ask interviews well curated, you can find game-specific pages for like Chibi Robo and all kinds of stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Wii Play first.
Great.
I introduced you to Wii Play.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. Dark era of my life. I don't think it was that good, but it's fine. It's fine.
And that's fair. And that's the common sentiment about Wii Play.
Yeah.
I mean, Wii Play and Link's Crossbow Training share another thing important in common.
Correct. There you go.
They were both pieces of software that came bundled with a thing.
Yes.
In the case of Wii Play, it was a Wii Remote.
Well, and so was Wii Play Motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, it's interesting because the Wii Motion Plus was bundled into so much shit that in those years.
Skyward Sword?
Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Well, Skyward Sword was late.
Yeah. But I believe it also was bundled with a Wii Motion Plus.
It was bundled with the golden Wii Remote that had Wii Motion Plus built in. Where I got my Wii Motion Plus when I was a kid was from
little creepy extension tumor on the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which funnily came with a bigger jacket.
Yeah. So it could fit in.
I got mine via Wii Sports Resort, which I think is how a lot of people got theirs.
Oh, you're right. That would be the primary way.
That was I want to even say, although I could be wrong about this, but I'm going to lock it in because I'm probably right. I think that Wii Sports Resort was the launch title for Wii Motion
would make
Plus.
sense. Yeah.
But Wii Play again came with a Wii Remote. I believe, again, I might be wrong, but I'm never wrong. The bundle with the Wii Remote and the game was $50, pricing the actual value of what's on the disc at around $10.
Yeah, because $40 for a Wii Remote now.
Yeah, it was.
Which, God, can you imagine? Can you imagine getting a Joy-Con or a Pro Controller for $40? Oh my God, I'd own so much more. I don't own a lot.
Yeah, you could get fucking that bundle with this Mario Party, Super Mario Party, and Joy-Con. For I think it's $10 for the bundle.
Don't think that's true. Don't believe that for a second.
Wii Play is a game I have a very soft spot in my heart for because it's a very, very.
It's like that soft part of an infant's skull that you can like push in.
Right. It's not great that it's there, but it is, and we have to accept it.
As long as no one punches it.
I played a lot of Wii Play when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed the game. For what reason, it's not entirely clear because there's no doubt that the gameplay is not very deep.
Yeah.
But I think what's effective about Wii Play is not only are some of them very fun. Wii Play Tanks is obviously a favorite in the Nintendo community.
Sure.
But I also really like fishing. I know that fishing is a little janky,
fishing is one of the best ones.
But I love fishing. I love
the hand-drawn art style of it.
The cow racing is a lot of fun.
That's another good one. Yeah.
I even like the what's the name? It's Fit Me, Pose Me, something. I forget the name of it. There's some mini games on there.
It's probably Pose Me.
Yeah. Mini games in there that I really like.
Yeah.
But when you really start to break them down, they truly are like purpose built to illustrate individual pieces of the Wii Remote.
Sure.
You're playing the one
the plus button, the Z button.
You're playing the one where you're changing the position of your Mii.
Yeah.
And it's just about literally getting used to manipulating the D-pad, the A button, the B button. Mm-hmm. You're playing the cow racing one, and you're learning about the accelerometer, and you're turning it back and forth. You're kind of learning how gingerly to move the Wii Remote with the fishing. Mm-hmm. It's very, very purpose built in that way, and there's not that much software like it.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and the only somewhat similar example that we pulled for would be...
By the way, folks, this is the number one reason to own physical media.
Prop comedy.
Yeah.
Prop comedy is a huge reason why I love having this kid. But 1-2 Switch is exactly that, but for Switch. And obviously, there's way fucking more the Joy-Con can do as opposed to the Wii Remote, especially the base Wii Remote, not Wii Motion Plus. But it's very interesting that this game got I would say quite similar treatment to Wii Play in the long run of, it's just there to demonstrate the controller, but that's not that interesting. Where I do think that there is actually a very unique and inventive quality to producing a piece of software, one of which only a very few exist, that only serves to tell you the functions of what that controller can do. Yeah. And frankly, although Wii Play, the Wii Remote was so ubiquitous that lots of things were tried on it. For no one really used a lot of the Joy-Con functions.
We both love 1-2 Switch, by the way.
We do, yes.
That's a fucking awesome game. There's some big difference between 1-2 Switch and Wii Play, though.
Sure.
That I think is really interesting to discuss. 1-2 Switch is a launch game.
Yeah.
Wii Play wasn't a launch game.
True, yeah.
And...
Could have been. Feels like it.
Yeah, it could have been. And I don't know its development history. I have to know why it wasn't.
Yeah. I wonder how far after release was that?
Wii Play was 2007, I want to say.
Okay, so maybe 6 months later?
Probably.
There's not a release date on the box, is there?
Copyright 2006, 2007.
There's a year, but
maybe
I
it
want
was 2006.
We Play December 2006.
December 2006
so
in some
just
region.
a couple months later, right?
That would have been... That's really interesting. Yeah, so that would have been a month later.
Very interesting. So it's basically a launch title.
Yeah. Okay. I got the 2007... Is it 2007 other regions, maybe?
Who the fuck knows? I don't care.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, okay. Wait. What? It's like 3 days later. What the fuck?
Is that right?
Yeah. The Wii launched in late November.
Yeah.
It's like a week and a half later.
They pulled a Smash Brothers.
Melee, yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I had it in my head, probably just because, I mean, I got my Wii late. I didn't get a Wii at launch. So the games have more distance in my head, but okay, so that's not a really useful point.
Great.
Scratching from the record. I thought that there was more distance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously distance to Link's crossbow training.
Sure. From
launch, but Link's crossbow training was still piloting a new peripheral.
Yeah.
It was there the day the Zapper launched.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything you want to say about Wii Play before we move on?
No, well, I think the Wii Play for me, because I don't have that same nostalgic value for you of like going back, like, oh, I remember that. It was kind of, for me, what the worst parts of Waggle motion control stuff can be is like, hey, you're playing billiards. You're doing ping pong. I'm like, brother, I don't care. I want to see something interesting and unique for this. But I will say that is very much I am now 15 years removed from this releasing.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of motion-controlled games. I've seen the technology and the concepts evolve and grow over time, where I do think there is a intrigue and value to when this released, playing virtual billiards with poking it or ping pong, moving your racket back and forth, matching the movement of your actual wrist. But it just doesn't have that same like spark for me now, which is interesting because I actually did end up finding that spark in Wii Play Motion, which is actually a very different game when you really compare the two. It's the sequel to it, but only in the way that it's a collection of different motion controlled games. But each of these are like a little game in and of themselves. They are expansions and different twists on the games that we saw here. Like there's a Duck Hunt kind of one here, but on this one, the Duck Hunt style Zapper one is a co-op going through little levels, hunting dinosaurs, hunting ninjas, getting a high score, completing different levels, having there be bosses. That I think feels like a much better utilization and thought process of what can we do with this that feels like no one's done it before. And no one had done it before at the time of Wii Play, but I found myself a lot more impressed by Wii Play Motion because the games in themselves were, I think, there's a little more substance to them.
Yeah, I mean...
And they felt very distinct. There's different art styles in every single one, and we were always like, oh, what the hell is this? We don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because obviously this... Can you fact check me again? This is Nintendo EPD. Or no, that's
the the teams would have been different at this point in time because they hadn't been split, but...
So does that make it EAD? I still need to do my homework on Nintendo development teams is not as good as it should be. After
well, so now the casual software team is EPD4, so it was that team, but they just weren't called that. At that point in time. You always EAD.
You always have this knowledge from me, which I appreciate.
Well, no, I have them in my notes. I don't have them in my head.
Yeah, but you even took the notes in the first place.
That's true. Yeah, this is on my notes called "Game Studios and Their Games."
That's good. That's good.
Which breaks down Bethesda into BGS, id, Machine Games, Tango, what games they made. Yeah, I just was bored one day, and I decided to do like a lot of these. I was like, which teams at Square Enix made each game? Because I don't know the fucking teams at Capcom or Square Enix, but there are teams and they have names. But we just call them Capcom and Square Enix or Nintendo. Yeah, which is why it's interesting to know the different.
I think
EPDs.
it's important.
I'll make a Quizlet and you can study that.
I genuinely would use it if you made it.
So would I.
Then you should make it. This game has a very cohesive sense when you're playing it. But you're right, it's fairly shallow with the exception of tanks, which is actually quite robust.
Yeah. There's definitely levels there and little bosses and stuff,
But it's a very simple game, and a lot of my love of it comes from booting it up in the sounds and the sights. The particular games reminded me very, very clearly of when I was young.
Yeah.
And the game did have great novelty to me. Mm-hmm. We Play Motion, I never had as a kid. It was one of the few pieces of Wii title software that I did not have.
Yeah.
And it was interesting playing this game because I feel like its intent is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because when you play We Play, they even say on the back, they call these 9 quick and easy games. Mm-hmm. And this, I think, really is, to your point, of for the era, showing people who've never experienced a game like this or have only played Wii Sports so need something to reinforce their understanding.
Yeah.
The ways you can simply use motion. Mm-hmm. This is a lot more nuanced, not only because of the Wii Motion Plus, but because you can really only show off what the Wii Motion Plus can do via more involved games.
Yeah, because they are the technology is designed to be more specific in a way that just doing this or doing that, like in We Play, wasn't possible.
Yeah, you end up with a lot more nuanced of a party game that I think, on the whole, is to its benefit. Mm-hmm. But I do have some issues with the game.
Sure.
I think that not all of all of the activities in We Play Motion are of an equal quality.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I think that
And I would also say the same is true of this.
I would agree with you. But
Find Me is just point at the guy in the crowd.
I think the way I would describe it is I think that there's a smaller variance in quality of We Play because even Find Me is simple, but we still were laughing and having fun. Like there's a basic charm there to all of them.
Sure.
In their simplicity. And then it's a matter of how much like engagement is alongside that simplicity.
Yeah.
When We Play Motion, I think some of the games are just bad.
Yeah. Which one's your least favorite?
Probably the balloon, like fan the balloon.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I think they're not only a lot more abstract in some cases,
definitely,
but they're just not as successful on the whole. And I think that's partially because, as we learned, this game is a who's who of C-tier Nintendo and Nintendo adjacent developers.
Yes, correct.
Can you get the list?
Yeah, absolutely, I will.
I know a bunch of them off the top of my head, but I think we owe it to the audience to go through the list because
and talk about maybe some of these developers because it is very interesting that they brought all these teams together to just handle one or two of them maximum. The teams include Nintendo, I think, only developed maybe one of these. There are a few teams that Nintendo actually owned, including ND Cube, who would go on to create the Mario Party games.
I think they'd already made Wii Party at this point.
Yeah. They owned Skip, correct?
No, I don't think they owned Skip.
Jesus, that's why the fuck did they ever buy them? That's bizarre. Other Nintendo related teams, Mitchell Corporation, who, if you don't know, let's get some.
This is a real deep. We're making some extremely fucking deep cuts here. What's the other one you're looking for?
Shit.
That game is so fucking weird. It's
Polarium. Oh wait, and
what's the other one?
Magnetica. Yeah, they also made Magnetica. Mitchell Corporation, they only made like 4 games for Nintendo, and then they just died because no one gives a shit about Polarium or Magnetica.
Yeah.
Then there's also Prope.
Do we want to do the digression now?
No, let's say Prope will be for the end.
Get back to Prope.
Goodfeel, who then would go on to make Kirby's Epic Yarn.
And who had already made Wario Land Shake It at this point in time. We have that too. That's a great game. It's the best Wario Land game in my opinion.
So there are actually some names here that you would recognize, like Goodfeel.
And there's also Vanpool. We didn't say
Vanpool, who did.
Vanpool is most famous for doing the Dylan's Rolling Western games,
right. Yeah.
And they also did a lot of support work for Kirby on either the side mode to eShop games, or then their last game, unfortunately, since they've since been closed, was support work on Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
Yeah. Skip, who's one of your favorite developers, we mentioned offhandedly earlier.
Chibi Robo, Captain Rainbow, Gift Pia.
Yeah, just weird shit that no one cares about. Spike Chunsoft, which is weird, or I guess just Chunsoft at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. They'll do fucking anything, I guess. Arzest.
Oh, of course.
Arzest, who would go on to make.
Do we have that too?
Hey Pikmin.
They also made Yoshi's New Island.
I don't have that.
You don't have Yoshi's New Island?
Yoshi's New Island, and then most recently, Sonic Superstars, which we don't have physically.
Sorry.
But so yeah, it's a bunch of strange little teams, some of which have now gone defunct, most of which don't have a very good reputation.
Yeah.
But who came together to make, I would say, on the whole, a very good package. I think the vast majority of these games I found to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting that they pulled together all these, especially at the time, C-tier teams, and now like I would say like L-tier teams.
It's sort of like the Avengers of game studios that nobody except for us care about. But we were so excited to learn who it was.
Yes, absolutely. Like, what the? Prope and Arzest worked on a game together, and Skip.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's strange.
If you're ever playing like 6 Degrees of Separation
for game devs,
oh
Christ, this is a good one.
This is a great. This is a great
no,
one.
it's not, because it's not like they worked with other people, really.
Yeah.
The only useful there one would be Chunsoft. And I couldn't even name a Chunsoft game.
They probably,
but I know
they probably make fucking
games.
farming games or
Probably.
something. They probably make Rune Fact. No, that's Xseed. I don't know.
I bet you they've worked together. Likely place for them to be.
I think We Play Motion is just fun to bring into conversation, in that it's a sequel to the sort of game that we were talking about. A lot of, for your casual audience.
Prop comedy makes it so much more fun. I'm going to be 100% honest.
It does.
There's so many things on my desk. I'm like, oh, yeah. I've played that. Oh.
This was for the casual players.
Yeah.
I don't think this is to the same degree. Now,
no,
obviously,
no.
this it's not fucking Civilization 4 or something, right? It's not Rainbow Six Siege, but I think that this is, to me, the sort of software that I think everybody playing Wii could grab onto.
Sure. People
who had no experience, who are coming to grips with games. But I think it also recognizes that, I believe this was released in 2011.
Yeah.
It recognizes we're at the end of the generation. People get it. They want something a little bit chewier.
But does that make...
Oh, gosh. Oh, I know what you're going to do.
Wait, where the fuck is it? Oh, shit. Oh, I think I unalphabetized my shit down here. I'm looking for Everybody Wants to Switch.
I know you're looking for one.
That's why.
Right. It's got pride of place on our shelf.
I'm like, does that make Everybody Want to Switch the Wii Play Motion?
It doesn't, because I think I gave that game a 1.5 stars.
Yeah.
And I gave that one 3.5 stars.
Yeah. This one is way better.
But in MC Horace's defense, only one of them has pride of place next to Word Tris in our background.
It was probably behind my head for most of the video.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one.
Hold on.
Okay.
I want to think about We Play Motion for a second. Because I want to think about the motion.
Sure. Likely thing for you to do.
We're talking about this modular design. We're talking about how a lot of these accessories, your Wii Wheel, your Zapper.
No accessories recommended here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're talking about how those are not specialized. They're very universal.
Yeah.
Wii Motion Plus wasn't that.
Mm-hmm.
Wii Motion Plus was the upgrade and get this little dongle or you can't play these certain games decision.
Yeah.
And it's something I've reflected on more recently. When I was a kid, I just kind of took it for granted. Oh, I want to play Wii Sports Resort. I need Wii Motion Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play Skyward Sword. Great. I already have Wii Motion Plus because I got Wii Sports Resort. Nowadays, though, hear me out.
Okay.
It's almost like a mid-generation refresh.
I would agree.
But to a more exclusionary level than a lot of it.
And here's the thing. It's like the new 3DS. I was thinking that as soon as you started saying that, I'm like, or I guess the DSi, though, was a little bit more...
DSi had more software.
Yeah, more things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that you have to be in the know. Yeah. To know that this specific thing needs this specific hardware, and only for a couple of games, and
it's not that many.
And also, it's a little bit more difficult for these two things to feel the effects of it.
Yeah,
like you're playing, just spitballing here. You're playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, or you're playing Fire Emblem Warriors on 3DS, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess this is more impressive.
Yeah,
but like, would it really have been impossible to put it on the 3DS? And with Wii Motion Plus, maybe it's just because I don't play enough of these games.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to really rationalize, oh, I need a different Wiimote with much better technology in order to play this.
It's interesting because the reality is it is much better technology.
Sure.
And I think that's...
I just don't think it feels like it, though.
No, and I think that some of that is the benefit of hindsight.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I do remember as a kid thinking it was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Especially Skyward Sword.
Sure. Okay.
And because the way they were able to particularize motion, you think about and I used to do this a lot because it was a funny joke. You would play Wii bowling or Wii tennis. You put the strap on and you just wiggle your arm around.
Oh, sure.
To play the game. Yeah. That doesn't work in Wii Sports Resort. Mm-hmm. If you're playing Wii Sports Resort ping pong and you don't hit the ball actually with a stroke, you're not going to return the shot.
Yeah, it'd actually be interesting to play back to back the Wii Play version of ping pong and the Wii Sports Resort version of ping pong.
And so it was a big difference, but it was a weird difference, and I need to do some more research in this, frankly, because I don't know how successful it was for Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this game sold like 30 million copies.
Yes, of course.
So there's plenty of people that bought in here who had the availability of Wii Motion Plus.
Little thing on the front requires Wii Motion Plus.
There's a little icon. Yeah. There's a little icon there.
Won't focus. Oh, there it goes.
There we go.
Requires Wii Motion Plus.
Now we're out of focus.
No,
there
we go. We're back. They said the same amount of games. 12 sports, 12 games.
Okay.
Very interesting.
That was the magic number, I guess.
12 instruments? 60 plus instruments? Holy shit!
Off the top of my head,
that's the best game Nintendo's ever made.
I'm gonna make a moonshot here.
Okay.
I want to say, although this might not be even close to correct, and I want to be fact checked, maybe by myself out of this video, that there may be only 3 Nintendo games that use Wii Motion Plus. These 2 and Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
I can't think of another one. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
Let's look it up.
But I can't think of another one. Now, there was third-party games. If you wanted to play Red Steel 2, you had to have the Wii Motion Plus.
Yeah.
Conduit 2 came out before Wii Motion Plus, so you didn't need to have... Or actually, no, Conduit 2 might have come out after Wii Motion Plus. Is there another one I forgot?
Boom, Flink Smash. Produced by Nintendo, requires Wii Motion Plus.
You. Oh, wow. I've never played Flink Smash.
Well, you know what we're doing after this video?
Playing Flink Smash.
Playing some fucking Flink Smash. Skyward Sword, Red Steel, My Personal Golf Trainer. Yeah, let's see. Lightning Fish, Let's Dance, Maximum Family Games, Matthew's Bow Hunting, Zoo Games.
Donkey Kong Country Returns.
That's not true. That's not fucking true. But yeah, there were a few.
But very little software. Yeah. And it makes me wonder if it was just a failed experiment on their behalf, or the attach rate wasn't what they wanted, or they just realized, like, brother, there's so many fucking people with the Wii, we cannot lock them out of that much software.
Well, I think also the thing ends up being, this is a mid-gen but late-gen refresh, much like
2009
3DS was. So the fact is, by that point, I'm sure they had felt 3 years in, this casual software, other than Wii Sports, is not selling the way we thought it was going to be for as long as they wanted. And they're like, what?
Can you find sales data about this? Or I can find sales data. I know how to type in things into those things.
So I just imagine that they were like, look, we know that we can't sell a ton of games at this price with this technology. The ones that they bundled did very well. Here's another one. Oh, this is a different Wii Balance Board. No,
requires Wii Balance Board. They both require Wii Balance Board.
This one doesn't say on the front.
That's because, and I hate to become a technical Peter, but I think that's because this came packaged with. That doesn't make any sense.
Why doesn't it say that? Very interesting. Folks, what we're discussing here, Wii Fit Plus says requires balance board.
You know what? Let me make a moonshot here. I'm making a lot of moonshots. I think it's because this copy definitely came with a balance board in the box.
Oh, sure. So there's no reason to say it.
And then I would imagine that they sold Wii Fit Plus as its standalone.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah, of course.
Now, I only had Wii Fit Plus as a kid, so I got the bundle with the balance board. But I would imagine that they were just maybe no copies of Wii Fit sold without a balance board. So it
would make sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so would make sense.
Because it was required.
Yeah. Just like how
By the way, if I'm wrong about anything here, please fact check me, because I pride myself.
How Nintendo Switch Sports comes in a box.
Yes.
And doesn't have stuff on the back because it came in a box, doesn't have a description or anything.
I pride myself on knowing a lot of this weird Nintendo trivia, and I love to learn more. So please fact check us if we're wrong. By the way, you might be onto something here, because this game, according to my sources in the field, which is the Wii Sports fandom, so take this with a grain of salt, but I'm sure these are real numbers.
Why would you fucking lie about that?
Wii Play Motion sold 1.6 million units as of December 2014, making it, quote, according to the source again, the second worst selling Wii series game on the Wii after, can you guess? I wouldn't have gotten this. It's above only one. I wouldn't have gotten this. It's weird. Scott the Woz made a video about it.
Wii Chess.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. I wouldn't have gotten other than the Scott the Woz thing.
Yeah.
The one Wii game that we have not talked about yet here is Wii Music, and I find this one interesting because it isn't any of the things we were talking about earlier. This is literally just families might find this silly, and so let's make it. Because this doesn't use motion in any particular way. It's the kind of thing where waggling does the exact thing. Being specific, especially because it's just using that initial Wiimote software or hardware, there's no specificity about it. We found it incredibly fucking annoying to play because no matter what you do or how specific or how hard you try to actually play something, it just ends up being...
It's not fun.
This is a notorious game, but I think it might be one of the worst games Nintendo's ever made. Not because it's not an interesting idea to make your music, but because obviously the hardware wasn't up to the task of actually being able to create music.
You want to take a guess on the sales numbers for this game?
13 million.
I'm going to read a headline to you, then you take a new guess.
Okay.
It's from Wired. Miyamoto struggles to sell inscrutable Wii music game.
I'm going to go down. 4 million.
2.6 million.
Holy shit. Wow.
Which does, by the way, illustrate the dichotomy between Wii Sports Resort selling 30 and they're selling 2. And you're right. The game is just not good. It's just simply not good. However, I learned something really interesting about this game from my friend Ashley, who wrote a piece about the 7th generation of systems and console chronicles. She wrote the piece in part because she actually got to go to E3 2005, 2006.
Whoa.
And part of her piece is...
We were literally just out of diapers at that point.
Yeah. Part of her piece was about the feeling at the time around PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii.
Yeah.
And
which were just about to come out.
Yeah. And she was talking about how in E3 2006, Miyamoto conducted the Legend of Zelda score using a Wii remote on stage. And people went nuts for it in E3 2006. And she was describing the piece how people were lining up for hours to conduct with Wii remote. So pre-release, right on the precipice of release, so like 5 months before release, people loved this concept. Like, this is a cool concept. And, it is a cool concept. It's very natural to imagine the Wii remote as any number of instruments. But the reality is, when we think about Wii Sports' ability to very seamlessly translate these sports into a fun video game experience, it doesn't work for music.
No, it doesn't.
There's really nothing... In reality, there's nothing that fun about pretending to play the drums. Or pretending to strum a guitar or whatever. It just doesn't work. Wii Sports works because tennis, baseball, punching, boxing, golf. It's very active. That's not what music is in the same way. So I just think that this was a more flawed premise. I think the novelty in E3 2006 of watching the Wii remote being used in this way is the gimmick. And that gimmick just doesn't work when you spend $50 on it.
And the final thing that I think I kind of want to talk about, unless you have other areas to spin off into.
Well, I want to talk about this game in particular.
Sure. You know what? Before we get to the last weird bit, Link's crossbow training. Again, what inspired us to actually do this video and break down what is so fascinating about these things? Link's crossbow training, again, I picked up alongside a Wii Zapper and didn't play for a while, and then I was like, oh, fine, we're just gonna sit down and play. It's like a 40-minute game. And we played it for a little bit, and we're like, I don't really get this. But once we got into it, I found that Link's crossbow training is pretty awesome. I mean, I think it's
a great game.
I think it's a very, very good game, and maybe one of the more interesting games that Nintendo has made in terms of this is the core Zelda team developing a 40-minute long, in US, no box game bundled with a Zapper, the value of which of this game ostensibly breaks down to $10 new. It is a bizarre thing that one of the core Nintendo teams made, especially because if you as I learned in the interview, the team making this game didn't want to make it. They thought it was a bad idea, and Miyamoto was like, "No, we're still gonna do it. We're still gonna do it." And then I think, I don't know if it really like worked out for them. Like if they thought it was great by the end, I don't really know. I don't think it particularly sold very well. But playing it all these years later without the expectation of this being the next Zelda game or being something that's super robust, knowing that it is only 40 minutes long and about that high score chasing, I found my playthrough of it to be really quite seamless and lots of variety and just super fun.
The game sold about 5 million copies as of 2010.
Okay.
So, better than Skyward Sword?
Holy shit.
I think you're totally right. I mean, the reality is that crossbow training is treated very poorly, and the Nintendo community has no resonance. The game literally costs individual dollars in basically any retro game store. It's got no value to basically anybody, except to us. because I just think the game is really good. It just simply is a really good light gun game.
Yeah.
There's a surprising amount of depth to the gameplay and the chaining mechanic. There's like the best light gun games on Wii, like Sin and Punishment's higher successor. There's so much going on in the bounds of the gameplay area that you're always engaged, and there's a lot of risk versus reward of not wanting to break your combo, but wanting to shoot a rupee off in the background for extra points. I think it's really effective, and it has just really fun flourishes that do define the rest of these games. Fun sound design, really nice, clean menus. I think that it is like the quintessential piece of pack-in software.
Sure, yeah.
It serves a particular function. It makes you understand how the zapper works. It's a fun little distraction. It comes with your hardware. It's Face Raiders.
Yeah, definitely.
It's Face Raiders, and I think it's better than Face Raiders. Nobody's been making this comparison, so nobody wanted me to weigh in on that fact, but I think it's really cool. I do want to talk about Probe.
Yes.
Was Probe the last thing you want to talk
about?
The
last thing I want to talk about was the way been talking about the way Nintendo was handling motion software and peripherals and trying to introduce people to different ideas of what this very unique controller that is very modular can be used for. What are the bounds of it? And they definitely did that. But I think it took the outside developers to just really fuck with your head when it comes to this. You can imagine swinging a tennis racket, I believe. Is that true?
I've done it many times.
Let's try it together. Okay,
I did it.
My brain's just so big. I can imagine conducting with a Wii remote. I can imagine fitting. But I've got 3 games here. One of which is similar to Wii Music, which is Major Minors Majestic March, which is a bizarre, really, really, really bad game that barely works, actually, in which you march around and you conduct a row of marching people, and you go up, down, left, right, up, and you do that for about 90 minutes until the game is over, and it usually never works the way you want it to, and the voice acting is terrible and the colors are garish. But it is interesting that other companies took an idea like this, well, especially just this team, and were able to make a full game out of it, just because the Wiimote was a distinct piece of hardware that you couldn't recreate this with anything else.
Nana on Shaw made this game.
Yes, and I should have said that from the beginning.
This is, for people who don't know, Nana on Shaw, they're the team that made 2 games we love, and Parappa the Rapper 2.
And Vib Ribbon.
Also made Vib Ribbon, also made Jammer Lammy.
Correct.
And obviously
we're going to make Project Rap Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game's artwork, of course, from Rodney Greenblatt, who conceptualized those worlds.
Yeah.
Not good game.
No, not good game. I actually really would love to see you play this, just because then I'd have someone to share. There's a character named Gigi, which is like ghostly grandma, great conductor, something like that.
Conductor.
Yeah. But the other 2 games, because this is very similar, as I said, to Wii Music, the other 2 games, again, I think really expand what the idea of a strange motion control controller can be.
Yeah.
Primarily, actually, no, which one's weirder? Which one's weirder?
Let's do Babysitting Mama, because I think we have less to say.
Yeah, Babysitting Mama. You see the baby. The baby will be back here in our videos just for all to see. You can take off its diaper.
You can. We won't.
But especially not on camera. But this is a sleeve for a Wii remote, ostensibly. And then
for the baby and for the Wii remote and the baby. That's what I'm going to say.
And then the nunchuck sticks out as like a weird umbilical cord thing. But this is one of the Wii spin-offs of the Cooking Mama series. I think the disc is loose in here. No, it's not. And all you do in this game is the most simple, brain-dead, microscopic motion movements you can possibly think. Shake the baby back and forth, push the baby forward and backward, put the baby up and down.
Let's go.
That's really about it. And and you said the baby let's go more times than I can count while I was playing this game. And I beat it, or at least I beat
Yuto's storyline.
I beat Yuto's storyline. Yeah, there's like 5 babies.
Sorry, let's be clear. There's no storylines. There are 6 children to take care of.
Yeah, and presumably they do the exact same thing, but you don't unlock them to. I don't know. But this is a crazy fucking game, and I think this might be one of the weirdest gaming peripherals ever released. And
it definitely.
Why I was so excited to get it as a Christmas gift this year is because I'd never heard of it. I mean, this is such an obscure Wii only motion control horseshit casual software thing, but the only reason it was able to be done is because the Wii remote is modular, and it can be stuck into a zapper or a baseball bat, but also a baby, a plush baby. And by the way, this baby's in great condition. Yeah. It actually had the tag on it still. And we have the cradle over there. I got this ostensibly complete in box. But very, very bizarre.
Complete in crib. Yeah, I remember seeing this game in Nintendo Power in ads because they tried to make Babysitting Mama happen.
Yeah.
It didn't really.
No.
I think if they tried again today with a new baby that you put a Joy-Con into, it would work. We would buy it. We would buy it. We would buy it.
Okay.
The last game is very special to me.
Yeah.
This is Let's Tap. And we said Prope would come back up.
Yes.
Prope is a company helmed by
was helmed by
Prope no longer exists, I don't believe. Helmed by the now convict.
Yes.
In prison on white collar crime, free our boy, son of creator himself, Yuji Naka, free Yuji, hashtag free Yuji.
Yeah, he did something wrong though.
He did something wrong. It's white collar crimes, whatever. He's just playing with cryptocurrency. It's all fake.
Oops.
Or maybe it was insider trading. That's
it was. Yes,
that's a stock market. But it's yen, so it's a funny one anyway, right? You know what I'm talking about? It's monopoly money. That's what Tucker says to me all the time.
I do.
Let's tap.
Should we get the boxes?
Yeah, sure.
So we can describe this a little better?
Yeah, that's fine. Do whatever you feel you need to do. Be careful. I'll just clarify, by the way, the funniest money is Canadian dollars.
Why is that funny?
Because it's also very colorful and it's plasticky.
Oh, sure.
That came out of the Monopoly box.
It's also called dollars, which is just completely old fucking idea. You know?
I know, we won't get into it here.
What are these? Nondescript boxes? They're actually the boxes that our lighting setup came in.
That's true.
That's true. These two boxes just happen to be the exact fucking perfect way to play Let's Tap.
Yeah. The way you play Let's Tap, you want to go grab a Wii remote?
Fucking hell.
We're just scatting all over the place right now.
We should have one of these on the desk in the first place.
We should have. Here, I will hold the box. You will demonstrate.
All right. Box from our lighting setup, but sub any box about this size here.
Sub literally any box.
Put Wii remote face down on the box. Insert Let's Tap into the Wii. And play a little racing game by going like that.
Let's Tap functions by the remote picking up motion by the vibrations of your fingers around the controller.
Yeah.
And obviously, the stronger the vibration, the more it would register as an action in the game.
Correct.
So if you just pitter-patter, you'll run.
Yeah.
If you smack the box, you'll jump.
Yeah.
And apply that to the inbuilt rhythm game or the
party
game.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones.
There's a Jenga game.
Yeah, of varying qualities, but that's the premise. I mean, you could probably play Let's Tap by like picking up the remote and like tweedling it slightly or tweedling it more.
Yeah.
Because all it's really doing is it's being jostled by the motion of your fingers. But it is,
and it works surprisingly well.
It does. It works surprisingly well. I loved this game when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about Let's Tap and why it's a fun place to end the video is that it is the antithesis. Oh, this microphone. This is the antithesis of. Is that We Play? That's We Play.
We Play.
These are the polar opposites of each other.
Yeah.
If We Play and Wii Sports and Wii Fit and even Wii Music and all of these games are about non-abstract forms of gameplay, replicating concrete images and ideas and motions through the Wii remote.
Yeah. Even, dare I say it, Babysitting Mama and Major Minor's Majestic March.
Y'all dare to let you say it.
Yep.
This is the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
It is completely abstract.
Here's another extractor. Fling Smash.
But
Boom Blocks.
Steven Spielberg's Boom. We could pull 2 copies of Boom Blocks out.
We could. I don't know the other one might.
I just think that this disc is definitely this. No, it's not. No. I think that this is great because it illustrates the extent to what the Wii could do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just that the Wii could emulate these motions. It's that the Wii could do anything and ask you to think about games and interactivity through completely new lenses.
Yeah.
Through the idea of not even touching a controller. Through the idea of controlling, of using a controller, but without your hands on it.
Instead on a baby.
On a baby. And I think that is why I really feel like the Wii is growing in my estimation to being one of the consoles that I value the most.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it comes back to what it tried to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think, obviously, with its sales results, it did accomplish.
Yeah.
It made so many new people gamers. It got so many people understanding how games operate.
Mm-hmm.
It asked developers to really think about their craft differently, not only in the name of making games more accessible, but also in the name of making them more abstract.
Yeah.
I think it is an irreplicable environment Nintendo created. I think we'll never have something like the Wii again.
No, and I was actually just thinking about that as you were talking about the fact that it introduced so many people to games by being accessible in a way that no other game was, because it was recreating real life events, and most of that was geared at people who were non-gamers. And the interesting thing is, I think the real reason why it can never be replicated again is gaming will never be in a spot again where older generations are completely unfamiliar with games.
Yeah.
Video games have now, believe it or not, existed. And people are getting older and older as the medium grows older and older. And in the next 40 years, there won't be anyone who was born before video games. And so it will be just, it's been around since the life cycle of the oldest person on the planet. That's a close,
I would actually...
my dad would be dead then. I don't want my dad to... No, actually, my dad lives to 110. That'd be fucking impressive. But regardless... You understand what I'm saying. And so I think it was released at the perfect time to capture that market. The video games were understood by the greater market. The PS2 had just sold literally more than any other console had in history. But then the Wii nearly caught up to that by cornering a different market.
Yeah.
But you can't do that again. You can't make, let's get the old people understanding video games now. We already had the Wii. That already happened. Yeah. And also more people are growing up with games and have played at least some form of game up to that older point in their life.
And you're totally right about that. And I think the other facet is, not only do people understand games now, but there's not an environment wherein you can make a Let's Tap and bring it to retail. Yeah. The budgets of games are so much different. Some of the most interesting Wii software was like this. It was not super expensive to make. Sure. So not only were you capitalizing on, as to your point, people who had not yet understood games the way basically everyone does now, you're capitalizing on like a creative environment wherein there was more room for risk. Yeah. Now, it's not like you can't make experimental games anymore. I think that's a total like false fact.
No, absolutely.
People are always saying that.
Last night we were talking about a game just like this, which is Give Me the Toilet Paper. What's it fucking called?
This thing is called Give Me Toilet Paper.
Yeah, which is a Switch game where you put your Joy-Con inside of a toilet paper roll and you roll the toilet paper roll back and forth. It is Let's Tap for the modern generation. And I will say that I really do respect Nintendo for maintaining a solid chunk of the quality of the Wii in terms of modular hardware. The Joy-Con are, frankly, maybe even more modular than the Wii Remote. Not because there was as many accessories.
They had their own wheel.
Yeah, sure.
I had those.
Were those ever actually produced by Nintendo? I think it was like just partnered with Nintendo to produce them. Not that there was as much peripherals made for it, but that it did still have some. The greatest example, I think, of modularity of a controller with a peripheral is probably the Raycon. And then Labo. I mean, these are just as ridiculous, crazy premises of what can we do with just this hardware, extending it with different pieces of plastic and cardboard. And so I'm really glad that those still exist. I mean, those are both like phenomenally creative projects from Nintendo. And it'll be interesting to see if in the ecosystem of the next system, where the casual software sits, and if that kind of casual experimentation is still able to be replicated. I mean, I can also see, there's two worlds I can see. I can see either they don't do any of this because they realize only some of it sells well and like whatever. We already tried Ring Fit. Or I can see we've got the fucking money to risk. Who gives a shit? Let's try it. Yeah. Which is where some of this shit came from.
It'll be really interesting to see, especially at the launch of the system, what that goofy casual game is.
Oh yeah. And we will play a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, this is assuming that they launch with more than Ocarina of Time remake.
It's true. Yeah, that and Relno. Yeah. AM radio stands for ankle monitor radio.
Yeah, because actually you used to be able to get the stations out of your ankle monitor.
Oh. Do you think ankle monitors started as feet radios and then they went off style and then transitioned to only like a prison thing?
No, my understanding is that it was always a prison thing, but it started with like with the foot monitor.
Yeah.
But now it's the ankle monitor, and there's been some talk in the prison community that before long it's gonna be the thigh monitor. They're gonna keep moving up the body.
Cock monitor. That's the ultimate conclusion. I think.
I call you the cock monitor.
What's the other? There's AM radio, and then what's the other one?
Fucking the cock monitor.
ZM radio.
You like looking at cocks.
Yeah.
FM radio.
ZM radio.
FM radio.
PM AM
FM
and PM
radio.
One's for the morning, one's for the afternoon.
One for the morning, one for the afternoon. No, FM radio is actually where they got the name FM Towns Marty from.
What'd you say? FM Tones Mario?
FM Towns Marty.
What the fuck is that?
The console.
I'm not familiar. I remember you offhandedly mentioning it the other day, but it doesn't help, frankly.